Hey everybody, welcome to Reading Smoke with Phil Jost here on YouTube. Thanks for being part of the YouTube Reading Smoke Nation. Hit like and subscribe for me. Hey, this is the first in line at this house fire, and we're going to look at, right off the bat, one of the things that I talk about when I'm teaching the class is reading the smoke at the door. So reading smoke, some people think about it as just an outside activity, but it's not. It's inside activity too. So when you're on fire attack, when you're searching, those sorts of things. Anytime you're inside that building, you should be looking at the smoke around you and understanding what you expect to happen, what does happen, and if there's any changes, and if those changes are in line with your tactics, right? So, one of the things that we talk about in the class, and we'll talk about here, is reading smoke at the front door. When you open this door, right, we know that's ventilation, and fresh air and is going to go in, smoke is going to come out, and you're going to have this exchange. You're going to result in some sort of neutral plane. So, and this is a little bit of a hard read, so let's get them going here. And they're going to work their way in here, and they looks like they're going in on floor one for floor one fire, but what we can see as they work here is that in fact the smoke, right here at the base, the smoke is 100% at the bottom. Okay, and normally, right, the air track going in is going to part of the fire, right? That fire is looking for that oxygen, and in this case, the smoke is basically to the floor, and it's also being drawn in. There's almost no smoke actually coming out of this door. There's air being drawn in, and there's not a neutral plane. So one of the things that we look at, if we're at the front door and the fire's on the floor above, and we open this door, the neutral plane should settle very high, or maybe even be 100% intake, but definitely in this top foot or so. If the fire's on the same floor, right, so it's on the same floor as that door you're going in, you're going to be looking at it to be sort of in this middle third. The more fire there is, the lower to the ground it's going to be, and there's going to be a significant air track going in, the smoke's coming out high, and then if the fire's on the floor below, it's almost always going to be at or near 100% exhaust. And that's what we actually have here. As they're moving into the smoke, it's coming out at basically at the ground level, but it's not coming out the door, it's being drawn in. I'm going to go back to that because I think this would be a pretty hard read actually. We're going to see in a second what it looks like from the outside of the structure. So they're making their way in, and the air is actually being drawn. Now, if you're on your way to the fire room, the smoke's going to be coming towards you, right? So you can read that smoke coming towards you, which it is for these firefighters as they make their way in. The smoke's definitely coming towards them. That means the fire's in front of them, the smoke's coming, but there's no neutral plane established, and the smoke is coming out very, very low. Now they do determine this is a basement fire. They're going to back out, they're going to move around to the side. There's a couple of chops, like right there's a chop in the video. It tells you don't know for sure how much time is missing, right? How much time is missing from the video. But this was the outside look I was telling you about. Now we don't know what it looked like before they opened the door, but right now you can see there's smoke coming out at the top of the floor one level and definitely out of the attic spaces. Relatively low volume, not too turbulent, right? Mostly laminar and thin. And it's in white, but that's going to be tough in this environment because it's so cold that as soon as it comes out, there's going to be condensation, right? So it's in the grayscale. We always have to be looking, especially in these cold environments, right where it comes out. Okay, so no clear indication I don't see of it coming from the basement area. Now it may have before they open the door. I don't know. If you do a full 360, you might get a better look. There's a door right over here, but what I'm saying is that it wouldn't have been unusual based on this smoke read here without a 360 to think that the fire's on floor one or maybe on the floor above, right? So that's why reading smoke is an art, not a science, right? There's a lot of science in it, but a bit of it's art as well. You can see here on the side view too, right? Nothing from this attic space. It'd be interesting to see if you were on scene what that window looked like. We can't really tell from here. But But they're in this door right now. We're over on, this is back to the Alpha side. They're going to pull out, they're going to move around, go over to Bravo. Now, I would also say not super hot where they were, because neither one of them's off gassing. And I don't, in this case, they wouldn't have to be super hot for that to happen because it's so cold out, right? Any significant increase in the temperature of their gear would create a little bit of steam once they came out of there. And they don't have any. There's smoke coming out. It's a little bit thicker now. And you can see it's coming out from around the attic spaces too, right? So they determined this was a basement fire. They're going to make their way in here. And what I think is interesting, the door's not all the way closed, ideally, right? Ideally, they would have maybe closed that door behind them, but they're moving their line around. We could talk tactically about maybe that if it's better to just go stretch a second line rather than moving one. I'm going to force this door here, and again, there's a little break in the video. We don't know how long that was. But now we're doing the same thing we did at the front door. We're going to look at where the neutral plane settles out and how clear it is to understand where the fire location is relative to us. There's always a little bit of change up front, and we can see here, but relatively quickly the fire establishes a really nice neutral plane. There's air going in. I mean, look how it's swirling. There's air going in here, smoke coming out here, and roughly in the middle of the door, right? Roughly in the middle of the door. I think it looks like a nice, clean, there's a beautiful air track going in. If you stay down low, you could look and you can see where that air is going, and that's going to take you directly to the seat of the fire, right? So I'm going to go back just to get through that one more time. I want to get that first initial puff, and then it establishes this neutral plane right in the middle. Beautiful air track going in, smoke coming out up top, which is what we didn't see at the front door, right? We didn't see this neutral plane with the air going into the seat of the fire. And we're going to pop this video forward. You see it's 14 minutes, and there's some cuts in it, so I don't know how much of the event, right? But right, let me stop it for just a second. Right here, now along this edge, we're definitely seeing smoke coming out from the attic, right, from the eaves. But right here, we can see a pretty consistent high velocity with so some turbulence and then a changing. We're just going to keep checking in on that little piece of the puzzle each time. And we're just going to keep seeing it along here. It just continues to get worse, right? It just gets worse and worse and worse. And so eventually they end up pulling everybody out, right? So this fire is extended from the basement, which is not uncommon, especially in older homes where there might be no fire blocking for it to extend all the way from the basement directly to floor 2 or to the attic, and then sort of bypassing that middle floor. And that's what happens in this environment too. I'm sort of just punching it forward because I think most of what we could really learn from it from a reading smoke perspective takes place up front. But just to show you, like, you can see the fire burning underneath and in the stairway now, and we've got a significant, right, significant body in the middle there, and they've pulled everybody out just you know, as their tactic right now. They determined there's probably no life safety hazard. They finished their searches. I'm not sure about all that stuff, but that's the way it worked as they move along. I'll just see eventually right above, I just missed that spot, but right above the stairwell is where it burns through the roof to begin with, right? So with that being said, we go up to the front, looking at that very initial entry and what that looks like. What we expect, right, is that neutral plane with fresh air going to the seat of the fire. Down low, maybe very low with a significant, but here we have is 100% coming around and then actually being drawn back in, which tells me there's probably already a fire working in the overhead. All right, hey, thanks for joining me here at YouTube. Sorry I wasn't live this week. I'm on the road. I'm actually teaching today Thursday I'm teaching in for the Southwest Virginia Firefighters Association at their annual conference. Right on Wednesday it was yesterday was reading smoke, and today's going to be actually tactical decision making. So a couple of fun days with the Southwest Virginia Firefighters, and thanks for being part of the Reading Smoke Nation. Please like and subscribe and tell your friends, especially if you're using this for training. It'd be nice to hear from you. Thanks to everybody. This is Phil Jose, and I'm out.